But no, this is like one of the avenues that I go around, and it just spirals from there. But it's so much information that you're just like, this
Yeah,
is really cool.
I know it's funny. Like, if there's one good thing that's come out of shutdowns, which in my opinion are few and far between, is I guess I've been doing a lot more reading.
Reading, yeah, reading's good. I've been researching a lot more. Just
Like jujitsu stuff, or
jujitsu, yeah, I'm always,
yeah,
you know me, I'm always into jujitsu, and I try to watch at least um 1 to 2 technique videos a day, like detail
hmm
going into it, uh, and then writing notes on them
yeah,
at night just to keep that fresh in my mind and you know try
yeah,
something new and choke people out a different way.
totally.
But yeah, jujitsu is actually the online
hmm
has prospered.
For sure. I mean, that
Uh,
makes sense. Yeah,
so that would be one of the very few and far between that you speak of, and like
yeah,
anyone can go on, and like there's some pretty garbage techniques out there that you're like, you can try it, but I almost guarantee that's not going to work,
yeah,
or it might work once
yeah.
and then never again, or it might work on white belts or something like that. But yeah, there's everyone, like all the big guys, are throwing out videos and giving little tidbits of information,
hmm
which is amazing.
Speaking of techniques that do or don't work, did you see I think Adolfo Vieira had a UFC debut and
Yeah,
he got
he
choked
got
out
choked
by a
out.
guy who's like not a
He's a
ranked or
blue belt, I think.
like
Oh,
I didn't see the actual fight, but I saw the clip and I was like, whoa.
he. The thing with that is he transferred over pretty much right from jujitsu,
hmm
like, and he looked tired.
hmm
And we all know when you get going, and if you get tired,
Yeah.
you're way more susceptible to
It's funny, man.
getting
Like,
caught.
I think people are under the impression that like if you're good at one thing, you'll just like get into MMA and like just be good at it. It is not like that. Like it's a
No,
completely different pace. Like there's no jujitsu or kick, but none of that stuff has the same kind of cardio output or the muscle. It's obviously different, like muscular endurance stuff. But yeah, the level of output involved in MMA like far exceeds anything that you're going to encounter in jujitsu or
well, because you're in such a different setting. I
yeah.
mean, jujitsu, you go for a takedown, then you work from the ground.
Exactly.
You
Whereas MMA is just up and down and
uh,
throwing punches and grappling, and there's
against the cage. Like
exactly.
they always say it on the UFC, Bellator, all that broadcast. They always like this cage work is tiring,
Yeah,
and it is.
yeah, it's
It really
exhausting.
is. Like I went into Champions Creed, shout out,
Yeah,
but like every time that I work cage work with them,
hmm
I'm the most exhausted ever. I can roll for hours
yeah,
and not be out of breath. I go
totally.
in to do some cage work or some stand up with you.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh man, that hits a different part of my heart that makes me go, oh, I'm tired now.
Nothing has made me feel more inferior than training with some of the guys at Champions Creed, like Hakeem, um, or Ramil or Chad. Like,
Chad's a monster.
dude, Chad fights, I think, at 135 pounds.
He's got two. He's got 135 and 145, I think.
I
He's
th-
got belts in
yeah,
both classes.
and he feels like when he's on top of you, like if you're trying to get up off the ground against the cage and he's in like a bulldog position with you or he has your back, like he feels like 200 pounds. And I am 200 pounds. I'm a little more than 200 pounds right
I
now.
was gonna say, you put on a little bit of weight since last, and I felt that last roll, but yeah. But no, I completely agree. I'm about that 200 pounds, and I stick to that for the last like 8 years. And he was on top of me, and he was like giving me these little pop shots, and I was like,
hmm
man,
Yeah,
this sucks.
totally.
And like then he plays,
Yeah,
which is awesome. Chad's an amazing guy, and he plays, and then like I can catch him in some kind of jujitsu move, but
totally.
you know he would just destroy me
Yeah. Well,
if.
I mean, I mean, it's only exacerbated or exaggerated by sparring with somebody like Hakeem. Like,
Oh yeah.
it's not even, it's like being beat up by an adult when you're a child, when you're sparring with somebody like him.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, it's definitely it's a different game entirely, obviously.
Yeah.
Um,
Straight jujitsu, I do really well against those two.
mhm.
But man, you add in like even if they were only allowed to use their left hand in the bottom of the fist,
Yeah.
like they wouldn't even punch me straight on. They would just give me a little hammer fist.
Hmm.
They win.
Hmm.
It's insane how good they
Yeah.
are.
Oh man, what a depressing subject to talk about.
I keep getting these memories on Facebook
Yeah.
of competing in
Oh, they
jujitsu.
came up this morning even.
Oh man, it's killing me. I
Yeah.
keep seeing them and I'm like, ah, I just want to compete again. I just want this to open. I just want the people on the mats.
It's funny, man. Like I like living in Canada a lot. Like my sister and my mom live in Costa Rica, and my sister's always trying to convince me that it's better down there, and I'm not really interested in living down there. I mean, obviously it's a nice place for a vacation. Um, but I like living in Canada, but through this, it really shows me like I don't want to like sound like I think Canada is all of a sudden become like this like fascist state. It's not, but it really reveals like how much control the government can have over your day-to-day life,
Very,
like
very
immediately.
much so.
And in the beginning, I think a lot of it is like bureaucratic red tape. I mean, especially because now I work in the government. Like I've got a I'll say a short. I'm not going back to it once
Yeah,
my contract is done, even if my boss listens to this. Um, and she knows now that I'm not coming back.
and the news is
Yeah,
out.
exactly. But yeah, it's just everything is so poorly run, and it's so clearly populated by people who are just looking for a secure job. Like government job is a secure job. And you can tell by the way people respond to the changes in information, the way the whole lockdown things have been rolled out. Like we're into it over a year now, and nothing has changed. There's been no like I heard it explained well once. The government created a problem, not COVID. They created the problem of shutting everything down, but haven't offered any solutions, any way to circumvent it.
And the one thing I've been trying to stick away from is this kind of let's listen to the news and let's listen to the government, but I do have to read each and every one of their little
Of course,
information
yeah, yeah,
outputs because I want to know what my restrictions, regulations are to open up the club.
totally,
Like we're doing that one on one now, which, hey, it brings life into the club again, which is very much needed.
yeah.
And that's the one area that I have to read, reread, and continue to make sense of what they put out. But a lot of what the information that they put out, almost 90% of it, I'd say, is like garbage. And they're just like, we don't know what to do. And it's like, oh, good. Our elected officials
Hmm.
are struggling with this.
When they're not on vacation or when they're
Yeah,
not taking
yeah,
3 day weekends
yeah.
or this or I mean it's just
They're still getting paid. They're still getting
totally
paid their full wage. That's
totally
what kind of irritates me a little bit. But that's another subject that I could rant about forever because you see all these people getting laid off and getting like their little subsidy that doesn't really
hmm
cover a lot, and then these guys are like, "We're in this together."
yeah
Yeah, are we?
yeah
You seem to be doing really well
totally.
considering we're
And I
all in this
mean
together.
I think people also don't realize like how much racking up the national debt is going to affect us in the future. Like people act like this is like not a big deal, just like spending money while the economy's shut down, and it just makes no sense. Like we're going to end up paying for it in one way or another, and entire industries are
Well,
going under. Like
gym industries,
gyms
like
and restaurants,
yeah, they're
they're
getting
toast.
destroyed.
Yeah,
Over and over, all you hear about is how many gyms are getting closed, how many restaurants are getting like forever. Not
yeah,
not closed or shut down, closed forever.
I know. And people
It's
are
insane.
so or I don't want to use the word complacent. Complacent is not the right word. People are so uh, have like a frivolous attitude towards, oh, well, you can just start another business when this is all over. It's like it's more than just the financial capital that it took to start the business. It's the years of gaining a reputation for your business. It's the years of building it up from the ground up. Like when somebody
Oh
spent
yeah.
30 years building a business or 40 years building a business and all of a sudden they have to shut it down, they're not going to start another business.
No.
It's, I mean, again, we don't need to go down
Yeah.
the COVID
The
rabbit hole,
grind
but
is hard, man. The grind.
yeah,
It takes a special mindset to keep that grind going.
totally.
Um, Shout out to all the members that have helped us through these lockdowns. I mean, without them, this club wouldn't be here. It's
Hmm.
insane. It's insane to think. I we were doing like we were our class schedule was expanding,
Oh man, it was the busiest I'd ever seen the club by far.
and I loved it. It was so amazing. And then it was like, well, now you're gonna have to start not from scratch because you never really start from scratch on anything.
The
Um,
experience is there.
yeah, you fail forward, right? But still,
It's a very prolific statement.
yeah, still you it is a grind. So a lot of people are like you're not starting from zero, right? Because a lot of people are like, well, you can always start over, and you're never going to start over from zero. You have the experience, you have the knowledge of how to get things done and run classes, but you're still starting from a standstill,
Hmm.
which can just be the biggest deterrent.
Totally.
Yeah,
It's like convincing yourself to go outside for exercise and, you know, starting every time you have to do it, you're starting off in the coldest, shittiest weather.
yeah.
And it's hard to motivate yourself to do that sometimes. Like there's a lot of times where you just don't want to do it. You're like, no.
It's weird that Dave Groggins. You just gotta listen to him or um, what's the Navy SEAL?
Oh, Jocko.
Yeah. Well, you have to listen to his like good inspirational movie, and you're just like, man, I got to get out of here. I got to do something. I got to like,
I go through phases with them. Sometimes they make me feel like such. They also live in a warm place.
yeah,
Let's
I
be honest. They
know.
live in fucking California.
Come up here and say good and freeze your ass off.
They'll definitely make me feel like a little bitch here too. But
Yeah, I don't know. I really like that good inspirational video company
mhm.
when he's just like good sucks, life
Yeah,
sucks, you're down in the mud, get up, start over.
totally. Well, it's been really like. I mean, it's from my experience. Like I have a very, and you obviously noticed this. Like my mood and motivation and all these things fluctuate a lot, like extremes. And the winter's always the worst for me. And I know there's like other people who like it's sometimes it's seasonal affective disorder or whatever. To me, it's mostly just like a rational way of thinking about how the seasons affect us. Like, of course, you're going to be less inclined to do things outside in the winter, that kind
Well,
of stuff.
th- there's a lot to go with that
Yeah,
too. Like there's less sunlight,
exactly.
that sucks. It's cold in
Yeah,
Canada, that sucks.
yeah.
Um,
Like the last week, it was negative. I think there was a few nights there where it was negative 40 Celsius overnight.
yeah, it was cold. Like I walk my dog, I'm like, okay, well, you're gonna pee really quick, and we're gonna run back in because this is freezing.
Yeah,
And I'm generally okay with the cold, but yeah, when it gets down to that, it doesn't matter who you
no,
are, what you're doing.
yeah. And the other thing too, I mean, with all the seasonal affective stuff and the winter, and on top of that, then we have the lockdowns, um, which just I don't know. For me, like the last 6 weeks, I started this job that I'm working now, driving a snowcat overnight, and you know, I've got long shifts in cold weather, working overnight. It completely destroyed my motivation to do much. And then on top of that, like part of my job allowed me to use the gym at the facility, like the weight room.
Yeah.
So at least I had that, but then everything was shut down, so I couldn't even use the gym at the facility anymore, which just ruined it just basically like shut down any motivation to do stuff. And part of it is my own like drive, but I just find that once it's so easy, but my point is it's so easy to fall into a slump, and then it
Oh,
feels like I mean, I'm no stranger to like gaining weight and losing weight. I do it every year. I have done it for competition. Like I'm fully aware of what it entails. But even yesterday I'm sitting there and I'm just like, oh, I feel like a fat fuck, and like I'm never gonna I've never